Ignition sequence start.
The reason I'm prepared for this position is because I've been preparing for this all my life. As far as James, he's our guy.
We still got James Harden. Our goal is still to win a championship.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal.
Being in a win-now situation, that's great. I'm a win-now coach.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to the first of what will hopefully be many Houston Rockets pregame shows for this season, presented by Locked On Rockets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day, as well as Clutch City Control Room, your home for all things Houston Hoops. I am one of your hosts, Jackson Gatlin, host of Locked On Rockets, and with me today we have a pair of Clutch City Control Room contributors, Mr. Karthik Prasad, as well as the host of the Noble and Roosh Show on ballislife.com, Roosh Williams. How's it going, KP?
Good, man. Excited for the season. We finally made it.
Finally made it. We're finally here. Roosh, you ready for some Rockets basketball, man?
Oh, yeah, baby. Christmas just ended. My favorite time of the year, Rockets basketball. James Harden's playing, so let's get it.
All right. Well, first off, we need to address why we're starting the season a little bit behind schedule instead of the Wednesday night, what was supposed to be the season opener. So let's run through that really quick, go through our quick little mission report here. So essentially what happened is the Thunder Rockets game was postponed due to COVID-19 contact tracing. So what that means is, originally there was some ideas floating around about maybe James Harden. The videos that surfaced of him, at the quote unquote seated dinner may have led to some contact tracing issues with the Rockets organization. Then it turns out that a group of the Houston Rockets decided to visit a barber shop, or not a barber shop, I guess a barber in an apartment, which was super funny. And that group of guys are now all out. So out for tonight's game against the Blazers, John Wall, Eric Gordon, DeMarcus Cousins, Mason Jones, and then Ben McLemore and KJ Martin Jr. are also out. They have been diagnosed with COVID-19, so they will be out for the foreseeable future. No timetable on those guys. And then also Chris Clemens, who is out due to the Achilles tear. Now, a little bit of good news here. The first four guys on that list, John Wall, Eric Gordon, DeMarcus Cousins, and Mason Jones, should be back for the New Year's Eve game against the Sacramento Kings. That is a little bit of good news in what has been a very murky start to this Rockets season. Now, hopefully we have, a really... Look, they've got a lot of work cut out for them because they've got about half their rotation is out. They've only got 9 guys available to play. KP, give me your initial thoughts on this game.
It's all about James Harden, man. I mean, I think if he's actually interested in this game, it's a great chance for him to go off. He already has good chemistry with Christian Wood, and it'll be a good chance to see him and Christian Wood go play together. And this Portland team, I mean, their first appearance this season wasn't great in terms of defense, and so I expect this to be a shootout. And so it should be a good, fun game for us. But it all hinges on how James Harden actually shows up this game.
Roosh, looking at how this preseason going into the, what is now the season opener, I think that there's been so much going on this offseason. It's been a very turbulent offseason, to say the least. But, now that we're finally getting, to take a look at this Rockets basketball team, where's your head at as far as the whole James Harden saga goes? Are you still sitting there hoping that they can look good and kind of maybe gel early, or have you kind of sold out on the James Harden stock right now?
No, I mean, yeah, I'm still holding out hope because that's really all you have as a fan, right? I know it's very unlikely. I'm not expecting it to happen, but that's really the last resort, right? Houston has to hope that they have a good squad. They have a squad worthy of wanting to keep Harden around, and they're going to have to prove it, unfortunately, for better or worse. So, that's the mindset I have as far as Harden is concerned. If you look at the rest of the West, it's pretty wide open. The LA teams are obviously, I think, standing out from the jump. So we'll pencil them in as 1 and 2. The Clippers may have gotten better, but everyone else, Denver comes out the gate kind of flailing a little bit, and you can see why. Utah looks pretty good. They always look good in the regular season, but then Portland struggled. Golden State's been struggling. So it just looks wide open for the 3 seed to be taken. James Harden said in one of the pressers, he said that his goal is to get a top 3 seed, which I think gives some insight into what his hope and expectations are for whatever team he's playing for. So we'll see.
Going into this game, the Rockets are actually 7.5-point underdogs, and for good reason. They're missing half their roster. They are plus 275 on the money line, while the Blazers are minus 330. Numbers courtesy of our good friends over at betonline.ag, where actually if you use code LOCKED ON, you can get a 50% welcome bonus with your very first deposit. So definitely want to check in with that. Harden actually spoke to the media earlier, so let's just take a quick look at what he had to say.
Year 12 for me. I'm excited, to be out here playing. And you never want to take playing basketball for granted. So I'm excited, for tonight's game. Individually, for me, it's just being the best basketball player on the floor every single night. And then as far as team, making sure that I can help my teammates be the best player that they can be, every single night on the floor. Obviously, every night isn't going to work out that way, but once you have that mentality, more than not, good things will happen for you and the entire team. So just try to go out there and be the best that I can.
Now, wow. This was – yeah, go ahead, Roosh.
He looks thrilled.
Just
a ton of energy.
So excited, and it comes off the heels of, he was asked some questions about everything that had, transpired over this past week. And Harden, a lot of – professional athletes, even, because they start getting trained on this as early as college and even, in some cases high school, a lot of professional athletes, they know how to deflect these questions from media. And that's exactly what Harden was doing during shoot around, during this, post shoot around interview. He was deflecting questions left and right, didn't really answer or own up to anything that had happened over this past week, didn't comment on his seated dinner for his friend. So, nothing great in that regard. But the Rockets need him. Tonight they need James Harden and Christian Wood to show up in a big way. And I think that's one of the things that we can, truly be excited for in some really turbulent times as Rockets fans, is looking at Christian Wood, what he brings to the table. KP, what have you liked out of Christian Wood so far?
Just his skill set on both ends of the floor. I mean, it's as advertised or perhaps even better. I mean, he can do it all, especially on the offensive end. Put the ball on the floor. I like that he can get James shots as well. And so, just him being able to score in a bunch of different ways. I like that this first game will, he'll have the green light just to do whatever he can do. And then defensively, him getting a chance to actually start to anchor the defense, protect the paint, crash the boards. And so, I'm pretty high on him. It's just exciting to be able to root for a 25-year-old player again, especially one as talented as he is and one as hungry as he is.
Yeah, the Rockets haven't had, much youth in the pipeline, I guess, in recent seasons, which is something that we've talked about, pretty consistently at Locked On Rockets, is the fact that, when you've been kind of championship or bust for the past 4 seasons, you can kind of make the argument that first year with Mike D'Antoni, maybe there was a little bit of, youth in the roster. You had Clint Capella, he was still improving, some other younger guys in there, but nothing as exciting as Christian Wood. Now, I do want to get to, we've got to focus on we've got our keys to the game, but we've got kind of a twist on it here in just a moment. But before we jump into that, Roosh, how have you felt about, it's just one game, but how are you feeling about Christian Wood?
Yeah, I mean, everything KP said, it's just exciting. He seems to be able to do it all. I mean, the NBA has shifted to a place where, you pretty much need a tall guy that can put the ball on the floor and defend and do all those different things. Houston didn't have that. Even when Golden State, was at their peak, Houston was able to contest them and kind of stick with them despite not having that. But now, we've shuffled through the cards. Chris Paul's gone, Russell Westbrook's gone, and it's just a fresh look. I like it. What I'm going to be looking for is his shot. His shot was okay. He had a couple shots looked bad. I think he airballed 1 or 2 from deep in the preseason game. So I want to see if that's a function of his elbow being sore or, what that is, because his shot is going to be one of the most important aspects of his game. But all things considered, like KP said, they're shorthanded tonight, so we're going to go to Christian Wood right off the bat and kind of see what he can bring. I'm really most excited to see the Harden-Wood connection. I think maybe I'm being biased, but I think it has true potential. to be one of the most deadly duos offensively in the league.
KP, and I'm also going to get this from Yurush. KP, over under Harden and Wood combined for, we'll say 75 points, over or under?
Under, but I think this is posed on Twitter. I'm around 65. If you ask me 65, I'd be starting to take the over, because I think Harden, unless he literally just looks completely disinterested, is a walking 35-point night tonight. And then I think Christian Wood has a chance to really have a great game. I mean, he's just going to get a ton of opportunities. So I would put the total around 65, but definitely under 75, because that would mean the Portland Trailblazers are just bleeding and we're scoring 150 points tonight if that was happening.
All right, Roosh, where are you at? Over or under on 75?
Under 75. I think Harden goes for 32. I think Wood goes for 24. So that's 56. Honestly, if the Rockets want to win this game, we tend to think, oh, your star's got to score 40 to win the game, because we've become conditioned to that over the last year or two. But if the Rockets are going to win this game, they're going to need more of a balanced attack. They're going to need the role players to step up. So I say 32 for Harden. I think he's going to be aggressive and go to the line. I think the step back will fall early. And then Christian Wood, I think, will drop 24 on maybe like 19 shots.
Maybe this is a good time. Why don't we go ahead and transition into our mission objectives, Roosh's mission objectives for the evening for the Houston Rockets. So first off on the list, we've got dictate the tempo.
Dictate the tempo. Bullard, if you're watching, I'm coming for you on the keys, baby. Look, you want to dictate the tempo, right? I mean, the Rockets are only 9 men deep. One of them is someone who should be in the G League, or who we would think would be in the G League, in Broderick Thomas. So they're really eight players deep. Another one, Jayshawn Tate, has also, I think he's a rookie, right? He's never actually played in an NBA game. So only 7 actual NBA players, right? So dictate the tempo. You don't want to get caught in a race with Portland going up and down. You don't want to go transition. You kind of want to dictate the half-court set. And a lot of that is going to come with Harden and Christian Wood, hopefully, in the pick and roll. So you kind of want to slow things down, dictate the tempo in that regard. And it's funny because just about 3 or 4 months ago, a 9-man rotation would seem, like way too many. So we'll see how the Rockets handle that. But yeah, key number 2 is going to be the bench play, right? The starting lineup is going to be Christian Wood, PJ Tucker, Danuel House, James Harden, and David Nwaba. So off your bench, you have a bunch of energy guys. The Rockets are missing Eric Gordon and DeMarcus Cousins and Ben McLemore, who are supposed to be their primary scorers off the bench throughout the season. At least that's the hope. But instead, you got Jayshawn Tate, who can't really shoot it. So you got to look for him to be active off the dribble. Sterling Brown, hopefully he can be effective going one-on-one, and hopefully his catch-and-shoot shot is there. Broderick Thomas, he's shown flashes that he can, do some things. It's just kind of, I don't know what we're going to get out of him in an actual NBA game. So that is TBD. And I am forgetting who the other bench player is. Oh, Bruno Caboclo. That's the big one. Is Bruno an NBA player, a legitimate bona fide rotational NBA player? Some nights he is, some nights he isn't. So hopefully we get the right version of him tonight. And his cancer might give him some fits, as funny as that sounds, because he's an experienced player that knows how to post up. So we'll see. And then finally, the little things, kind of in conjunction with the fact that the Rockets don't have their strong bench and don't have their, some of their more key players in John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins and Eric Gordon. You're going to be hoping and looking for guys like Jayshawn Tate, David Nwaba, Sterling Brown to do the things that we saw in the preseason, bringing hustle, bringing energy, doing the little things so that, at the end of the day, you're not fighting an uphill battle with the fact that you have a built-in uphill battle because the roster is shortened. So you want to dictate the tempo, make sure you don't get tired out. The bench is going to have to show something. They're not necessarily going to have to drop 20 apiece, but the Rockets have had a weak bench in the past. So if they can at least give you 30 or more points off the bench, that's what you're going to be looking for tonight. And then do the little things, fight for loose balls, keep tips alive, make hustle plays, and just make life easier at the margins on the court.
And we're going to get to y'all's questions here in just a second. But I've got a couple more topics we need to hit on really quick. Now, this one's for UKP, looking at this roster that they have, on hand tonight. Obviously we're expecting a lot of the scoring to come from the majority of the scoring to come from James Harden and Christian Wood. And conceivably, I think Danuel House is like your de facto, third option in this group of guys. So where to you are they going to make up those, because you're imagining you're missing, anywhere from say about 15 points from John Wall, 10 points from Boogie off the bench, and another say 15 points from Eric Gordon. That's 40 points you're missing. So who is going to be the guy out of the rest of the group that you think has a chance to really step up and actually fill that void a little bit?
Well, I mean, I think Nwaba and Brown with their hustle, them and Jayshawn Tate should be able to get a few easy baskets. So I think between the three of them, you're looking at 20 points. And then I think PJ gets a couple more threes, a couple more looks. And if he's, on tonight and rested, I mean, that could be helpful. But don't underestimate, I think between Wood and then Bruno, I mean, having some length and getting some offensive boards, I think we'll be able to get out in transition as well. So I just think, we do have to dictate the tempo. And when there are transition opportunities, take them to get some of those cheap, easy baskets, especially earlier on in the game, and just get people involved. So I think the bench, between Nwaba, Brown, Jayshawn Tate, et cetera, kind of those role players who will, be on the bench normally, I think they'll have a chance to just get some energy buckets. And I'm looking for those guys to come out aggressive.
Those energy buckets are absolutely going to be huge, because let's talk one more thing really quick before we dive into some of these questions.
Real quick, can I just add one? I just want to add one thing to what KP said.
Yeah, for sure.
Out of all those people, I think the only one that has at some point on a professional level proven that he can create offense, I think Jayshawn Tate is the guy. Now we know he can't shoot, but again, you just want him to be aggressive in terms of creating. And then also Broderick Thomas has a good handle. Again, I don't really know what to expect from him just yet, but since he's going to be thrust into the fire, I think he's got a good handle, and I think he's going to be able to create some as well.
Jayshawn Tate was giving Harden buckets in practice, so
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Oh man, maybe Harden will throw a ball at Tate out of frustration during this game at some point. No, one of my other things to focus on really is, you have to actually worry about containing Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, right? If you let them have free reign, you're going to be in for a bad night. And I think that's one of the areas that we saw this team really struggle last season was point of attack defense. And if you give Dame and CJ free reign to terrorize, then you're going to be in for a really long, grueling night if you can't get those proper stops. Now, I do think that there is one thing to be grateful for in this situation. I know there's not a whole lot to be grateful for when you're missing half your roster, but the fact that they are missing some guys means that we're probably going to see points in the game where you've got that four-headed monster of PJ Tucker, Sterling Brown, Jayshawn Tate, and David Nwaba all on the court at the same time. I would imagine we might see that during a few of those stretches where Harden is sitting down. Hell, we might even see that during a stretch with Harden on the floor, including those four guys. And that's a lineup that mimics very similarly the small ball lineup from last season, where they're going to be able to switch everything. You're going to have four hustle, 3-and-D. Well, I guess we can't really call them 3-and-D type guys yet, but hustle and defense guys. Well, that's what we'll call them for now. And that lineup, I think, has a really good chance to actually slow down Portland's offense, because Portland's going to be able to score the ball. The question is, are they going to be able to defend it all? And I think that's the issue for this Rockets team, is where are they going to come up with that, missing all those points from the guys who are out right now. Now, let's go ahead and dive into some of these questions we got here. So our very first question, do you guys expect instant double teams from the Blazers on Harden? I think that's probably an obvious yes, right, guys?
Instant? No, I don't think instantly. I think they're gonna man up first, and then if it doesn't work, they're going to go to the double team, and then hopefully we have an answer for that.
Yeah, and well, the other thing is, I think Coach will have a counter for that.
Let's hope.
Yeah, well, Stephen Silas did say earlier today that he does have counters in place for the James Harden double teams should they occur. Which hey, a coach with a counter plan. It's kind of cool.
Hey, look, man. One thing we haven't discussed is Stephen Silas. This is going to be, and I love that we get to see it the first game. He doesn't have his roster, so we're going to see some of the tricks in his bag. We're not, like in the past, we were scared that people were out and we knew Harden was going to have to carry. Well, everything we've been raving about is that we have a system hopefully designed now to just get people easy shots, wide open shots. So let's see. I'm excited to see Stephen Silas.
There is probably a little bit of concern there, because even though Silas's system is much more, let's say, plug and play than D'Antoni's system, where you have to have a dominant ball handler who is a threat to both score and create for others based off their gravity, like Harden and Russ and CP3 before them. I do think that there is a bit of a concern in that you are missing John Wall and Eric Gordon. I don't think it's going to be as true to the system when you're plugging in guys like Broderick Thomas and Sterling Brown to be the primary ball handler for stretches of the game where Harden is sitting down. But you're right. Hopefully we do see a system that is, a little bit better at making sure that the wheels don't come off the train when Harden sits on the bench, which is all you can hope for in this game. I'm expecting Harden to play into the high 30 minutes in this game. I'd be surprised if he doesn't. Yeah. But maybe Silas isn't willing to, grind him into the dust in the very first game of the season. Maybe he knows that the roster is, a little thin, and he's just going to accept the fate of the game, however it looks, once you get to a certain point. Now, our very next question, which surprise player stands out tonight? KP, go ahead and tackle this one.
I'm going to go Sterling Brown. I think he gets I think he'll get to showcase his defense. And I think he's actually a decent catch and shoot 3-pointer. So he should get a number of open looks, and it might be the guy that Portland just says, hey, go ahead and shoot it. I would have said Jayshawn Tate, but I think that's going to be Roosh's. So we'll see. But I'm going to go with Sterling Brown for right now. I think he'll have a number of opportunities. He actually, we've talked about this previously, could be kind of that backup point guard, combo guard role later in the season. So it'll be interesting to see if he demonstrates some of that.
Roosh, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to say Jayshawn Tate just because I'm high on him. I think we're going to see defensively, he's got really good feet in terms of footwork, and he's strong. So I think he's going to stand out on defense and in hustling. Again, Houston's going to need somebody else to create. So I'm hoping Jayshawn Tate can do that. Dark horse pick, though, Bruno, because Houston's going to need Bruno. And I think he'll get matched up some with Cantor. And I think Cantor will back up a little bit and let him shoot. So
one game away from being one game away.
What's so funny?
Well, I'm kind of picturing you transitioning from being a DMC stan into a Bruno stan, like just overtly.
No. My DeMar Carroll stuff was based on he's veteran, man. He's a veteran. Bruno is not. But I just think he's going to get open shots. I think he's going to get open shots. And he had a pretty decent stroke in the preseason. So, and it's kind of just based on the fact that Houston's going to need, they're going to need him. If they want to win tonight, they're going to need something from Bruno. So
yeah, Bruno shot really well from behind the arc. He shot 50% in preseason on 4 attempts a game. So it's not a small sample size. I
think he's going to come out clanking. I think he's going to come out like smacking the side of the backboard on a few, and then he'll settle in and drop some in and make some plays.
The PG-13 special, of course. All right, here we go. Let's go to our next question. What do you think of the decision to start Nwaba instead of Brown? Does it really mean anything? I'll go ahead and tackle this one. I was saying that I pictured Nwaba as the starter, and this is something that we've kind of discussed a little bit already, because Sterling Brown does have a bit more ball handling experience and capability than David Nwaba does. So it makes a little bit more sense to stagger those two guys when you have a limited 9-man rotation, because at the end of the day, you're going to need to somehow survive those 10 to 12 minutes where James Harden is sitting on the bench. And if, conceivably you're going to have Daniel House Jr. and Sterling Brown as kind of the secondary ball handlers during that unit. So I'm almost expecting Daniel House Jr. to get an early substitution in this game so that he's fresh, probably around that 6 or 7 minute mark. Maybe Sterling Brown comes in for Daniel House, and then when Harden eventually sits at the end of the first quarter, I'm expecting Daniel House to get subbed back in. So conceivably he'll have kind of the Russell Westbrook role as far as minutes go in this game. At least that's what I'm predicting. What do we got next? Let's see. Matched
up on Lillard and McCollum.
Oh, matched up on Lillard and McCollum. Oh, hang on.
Let's talk a little defense. Man.
All right, hold up. We'll knock this one out into the defense. We got plenty of questions to get to and plenty of time to do it. Over under on how many times Harden gets to the line with all these double teams. Is it still no more layups if he gets to the free throw line? Just asking.
That's cold, man. That's cold. 18 trips to the line means 18 free throw attempts means 9 trips to the line.
Yeah,
potentially, unless he's making and-ones.
So are we going over under nine trips to the line? Like, what are we or 18? Let's say 18 free throws. We'll go with that.
I say under 18 free throws. I think James Harden shoots 12 tonight.
Yeah, I'm in the 10 to 12 range as well, because I just don't. I think the Blazers are worse at just conceding straight line drives than they are fouling. I think if James is going to the hole and getting fouled, he's he's gonna score.
All right. I'm taking the under on that one too. I don't see him getting to 18.
Austin did clarify the 18 is a joke, so
okay, that's fair. All right, good stuff there. All right, let's go to our defense question. Will the Rockets switch on screens where Lillard is running pick and roll? Roosh, give us your thoughts.
Well, they switch on screens. I mean, we don't really know their defensive philosophy yet, and I think that's just a question where it's like it depends. You know, depends on the screen, depends on who's setting the screen, and it depends on what part of the floor the screen is being set. Kind of breaking off of that a little bit, same type of question. Someone, I think Don Knock had asked, who's going to be sticking McCollum and Lillard. I think Nwaba will start on Lillard, and I would like to see Sterling Brown on Lillard as well, and maybe a little bit of Jayshawn Tate on him, because guarding Damian Lillard is all about having the footwork, because he can chop and dribble and move different ways and get your body shifted in different directions. So it's about having the footwork, and I think Nwaba's length will also be good starting out on Lillard. I just hope he doesn't get into foul trouble.
It's worth noting that, you know, even though it's only been 4 preseason games, we actually do know a little bit about the Rockets defense. Shout out to Ali Kambijani of The Athletic, who, you know, consistently does a really great job breaking down, you know, film study of the Rockets and, you know, just informing fans in general. But he, you know, highlighted some points, you know, in his recent guest episode on Locked On Rockets, you know, talking about the Rockets defense. And they've been, you know, utilizing a mix of both drop coverage as well as the switching defense that we've, you know, come to know and, you know, love and sometimes hate over the recent years. So it'll be interesting to see how they decide to utilize Christian Wood when he's on the floor, because they view Christian Wood as a guy who can switch onto those smaller guards, but he can also be, you know, utilized in a drop coverage sense a little bit more. We've also seen a little bit of box and one from them. We've seen ice at times from them. So, you know, they've thrown a lot of different defensive looks out there. Yeah. But circling back to something that I did mention earlier, right, is we might see that lineup out there with the 4, you know, hustle and D guys, as well as like Harden, which gives them that ability to switch everything 1 through 5 defensively. So hopefully that lineup, you know, I'm really high on that one. Roosh, what do you got?
Kind of adding on about the defensive philosophy. Check out the Noble and Roosh show. It's my podcast. We did an episode. We haven't released it yet, but it's coming out with Andrew Bogut. And Andrew Bogut played in Australia, coached by Will Weaver, and he played with Jayshawn Tate. He had a lot of good things to say about both. But real quick, because it's my understanding that Will Weaver is supposed to be, I guess, the defensive assistant or has some type of focus on defense. And according to Andrew Bogut, Will Weaver is very like numbers-based, analytics-based. He's going to look at whatever numbers they tally, see what works, and say, cool, we're going to run that. One tidbit is they had, I think, a playoff game or some game where they were, I think it was a playoff game, and they had run one defensive coverage, and they had just kind of run it a few times in practice, not really run it in games. And all of a sudden, like the night before the game or the day of the game, Will Weaver was like, hey, watch out for this. We're going to be running this today. And they did, and they won the game. So kind of interesting philosophically to hear like what he's about.
All right. Well, before we wrap this thing up, we got to get some predictions in here. Let's go KP first. What's your prediction for tonight? Win or loss? And what's the final score?
Man, I mean, before the season started, yeah, I mean, I gotta pick a Rockets win in a shootout. I just think this game will be just bananas in a lot of different ways. So I'm gonna go 120-114 Rockets in kind of a upset, bizarre type of special. All right,
Roosh, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm not that high on Portland. I know a lot of people are, but I'm just not. I hope I'm right. We'll see. I think moving Melo to the bench is going to be a very difficult adjustment for Melo, just in terms of like rhythm, not even mentality, just in terms of playing well. And then they got some pieces there that like they're still trying to fit in, right? They just got Harry Giles. Cantor's playing big minutes. He played 26 minutes in their last game. So yeah, and Nurkic, we'll see if Nurkic is really back. So I'm going to pick the Rockets. I'm going to say that I don't think it's going to be a shootout because Portland seems to still be struggling offensively, at least from what I've seen. So I'm going to pick the Rockets to win 109-105.
Okay, I'm actually trending kind of the same way as Roosh, surprisingly. But no, I don't think it's going to be a shootout either. I think the Rockets are, you know, they're going to be starved for points, you know, trying to get something on the board out of, you know, anybody not named James Harden and Christian Wood. So I'm leaning a very tight Rockets win because again, I'm also not very high on the Portland Trailblazers. So I'm going to say 104. 101 Rockets win. So I think it comes down to a potential buzzer beater, but I do think that they hang on and they eke out a win in the first game, undermanned in the first game of the season. So that's going to be our predictions for the evening. Now, Roosh, you got one more thing to throw in. What do we got?
B. Bryant asked, what does a Rockets win tonight mean for this season? And I just wanted to address that because, I mean, it feels like the James Harden sweepstakes have begun. A win tonight would be huge. I think it would prove a lot just in terms of the teammates that step up because it's kind of a brand new cast. And for Steven Silas, I think it would mean a lot as well to hopefully begin the process of rebuilding some type of trust between Harden and the organization, if that's even possible. So a win tonight would be huge. I can't really overstate like what a win tonight would do in terms of mentality because narratives can flip in a matter of hours. And, you know, if Houston, they got dealt a very unlucky hand with all these people being out, if they can fight against that and go 1-1 or 2-0, could be huge.
Good vibes mean a lot.
Good vibes can help. Now, if you tuned into this broadcast, hopefully you enjoyed it. Put a lot of work into this for you guys. If you enjoyed it, be sure to tune in throughout the season because we've got plenty of other things. So for our future transmissions here, we've got our follow Locked On Rockets as well as Clutch City CR. You can follow us as well at JT Gatlin, at Roosh Williams, and at Stanford KP on Twitter. Definitely subscribe to Locked On Rockets, the Launchpad podcast, and the Noble and Roosh Show, wherever you listen to your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you're listening to your podcasts. And hopefully the Rockets can go out there and get a W. So for us, that's going to be us signing off and go Rockets.
See you guys.
Go Rockets, baby. Our double.